Hello, I'm Martin Redstone, and welcome to Tool Times presented by PPLBOTS.
You know what time it is?
Oh, there we go. Too trigger happy. So hello, welcome to this new initiative that I'm relaunching. Actually, I was doing this a few years ago, which is inviting some special partners of mine to have an opportunity to introduce their business and to demonstrate a product that they have launched or built or in the middle of launching, which I think is pretty cool. It needs to be seen by recruiters across the world via LinkedIn. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Wes Beard, who I've invited on from Konversable. Hi, Wes.
Hi, Martin. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. Very good, thank you. Thanks for joining me. Why don't you give us a brief introduction to you, and then we'll jump straight into it.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So it's great to be on here. Thanks for inviting me. I love the intro, by the way. That's amazing. It brings back so many memories of Tim Allen from back in the day.
I'm most likely going to get done for copyright at some point, but I'll keep going with it as long as I can.
Keep running with it. Keep running with it. So so my name's Wes. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Konversable. So we're a chat technology company in essence. So we do anything related to chatbots, live chat, as we'll come on to shortly, sort of fairly advanced WhatsApp business messaging implementations. And we work across a number of industries, actually. We have sort of three core industries that we work with at the moment. Those are automotive and dental, and also obviously recruitment. So yeah, very excited to show off what we've been doing within WhatsApp and Bullhorn. I don't know if anyone was brave enough to get up at 5:30 this morning to watch Meta's Conversations conference, but suffice to say, there's a hell of a lot going on in the whole WhatsApp world right now. So very exciting times.
Absolutely. No, and to answer your question, I wasn't brave enough to get up at that time, but I am going to be watching the restream or the recording of it because I've already heard some really good things coming from it. Great. So the floor is yours, as they say, Wes. So the way that we run these is an opportunity just to kind of give a pitch, give an introduction to the business, whatever you need to do in order to get your story across. And then we'll jump into the product. So yeah, over to you. Let's take a look at what you've got to show us.
Cool. Yeah. So what I was going to do, I'm not a big fan of death by PowerPoint, but I thought it would be useful to give a little bit of context to the world of WhatsApp and why it's such an important messaging channel these days for businesses and recruiters, and then get into the product a little bit itself. So hopefully you won't be too bored by seeing a bunch of PowerPoint slides, but there's trust me when I tell you it's not too long. So hopefully you can see that. And I think I just want to start off with, I guess, providing a bit of background. This is something that I'm sure everyone watching this stream will be familiar with in terms of the way that people chat with candidates and companies. We know that chat is the best way to engage candidates. And what are the ways that you can do that right now? Well, the first one is obviously the phone. Picking up the phone and speaking to a candidate gives you no better sort of sense of who that person is. It's a very personal experience, but clearly there are issues of scale. You know, you can only contact so many people in a day. There's always issues over getting hold of people. I'm sure many people have been used to leaving voicemails and waiting for voicemails to come back, and playing that kind of ping pong voicemail that we're all used to. So lots of advantages, but also some fairly annoying disadvantages as well. And you have email, obviously been around since the internet was a boy, really. Much more scalable, clearly, than picking up the phone. You can sort of mass send out email notifications and things like that. But again, if your inbox is anything like mine, I think I woke up this morning to sort of 34 emails came in overnight, and your email can just get lost in a sea of spam or other emails that are maybe potentially more important to candidates. So you're going to get poor visibility, and we see that in open rates dwindling over the years, whereas they used to be fairly strong. You know, you're now lucky if you're getting open rates of 5 to 10%. So You've now got LinkedIn, obviously with the advent of Web 2.0, fantastic visibility of your messaging. But the reality is that not everyone uses it, especially in that sort of blue collar workforce, where you've maybe got people, LinkedIn is a bit more of a sort of professionals network, if you like. So, if you're working in that industry, the likelihood is you're getting good engagement on LinkedIn, and there's a lot of advanced functionality that they have on there to help recruitment. But there is a huge chunk of the market that just simply don't use LinkedIn. They just don't. Some people don't even know it exists. They'd rather just stay on Instagram.
Yeah.
So challenges with that, and then SMS. SMS again, as we know, very good visibility. But there are some restrictions on there. I think it's fair to say that SMS is still a huge tool in the US, but in the UK not so much. It sort of seems to be falling out of fashion. And it does have limited functionality, of things like restricted character limits. So you're only really allowed 160 characters in your message. And it's really generally text-based only. So this is where WhatsApp comes in. WhatsApp, you get great visibility. It can be highly scalable. You get that great personal experience. But that does come with a health warning, and that is that the sort of personal WhatsApp that we use on a daily basis isn't GDPR compliant, and I'm sure many of you on this stream will understand the sort of rules around GDPR, but it's all about protecting customer data. So using personal WhatsApp, as you'll know, you can join a WhatsApp group. I could be invited to a WhatsApp group with a bunch of strangers and take all of their details. I could potentially use my personal WhatsApp to speak to a candidate, and then I leave the business and I take all of that candidate data with me. So there are a number of pitfalls with using personal WhatsApp, despite its advantages, and this is why at Konversable we're very focused on using the GDPR compliant version of WhatsApp, which is the business API. So I'll come into that in a little bit more detail shortly. So why WhatsApp? Why is WhatsApp so important? Well, as I say, on the Meta Conversations conference this morning, they were talking about how the Meta messaging apps, which consist of WhatsApp, obviously Instagram, DM, Facebook Messenger, and most recently Threads, are now used by over 3.8 billion users globally, which is a kind of a mind-boggling number when you think about it. But yeah. WhatsApp itself is the big one in that suite of messaging products. So it's the world's most used messaging app. There are over 2 billion users that are using this on a regular basis. Over 28 million users in the UK, so it's a really popular channel in the UK. And if I were a betting man, I would say at least 90% of people watching this stream have WhatsApp on their phone and they're using it on a regular basis. Now, why is WhatsApp such a great messaging tool? Well, it's easy to use. I think that's the sort of the big one that we always sort of discover with clients is just customers just find it super easy to use. They can easily send and receive text messages. They can send and receive images, video. It's convenient, and it's mobile first. So in this world of smartphone, everyone is walking around with one in their pocket, and WhatsApp's just a great channel to chat with each other, chat with friends and family, of course, but more and more to chat with businesses and make their lives easier when they're communicating with businesses. And of course, there is another element to WhatsApp is an advantage in that it's secure. All messages are end-to-end encrypted, so there are no risks over messages being snatched from the ether, as it were. This slide is particularly interesting because it shows how WhatsApp is being used by different age groups. So it's very clear to see that WhatsApp is used mainly by people under the sort of middle-aged category, I guess you could say. I'm 43 this year, so I'm very pleased to say that I'm actually in that kind of one of those baskets. But my time is running out, I guess you could say. But you can see that there's a huge proportion of people within those categories that are using WhatsApp. So, for example, 84% of 25 to 34-year-olds are using WhatsApp on a regular basis. So this is what I'm talking about just the visibility of your messages getting to these people. WhatsApp's a huge channel for that, and frankly, most of the kind of younger working population is sort of sitting in that category. So if you're looking to improve your communications with candidates, we know from our research and from third-party research that there's just frankly a lot of people under the age of 35 who don't like talking on the phone. It's as simple as that. They've grown up in a world where they would far rather do things via the sort of messaging apps that we're talking about. So if you're wanting to get yourself visible in front of these people, then WhatsApp's going to give you probably the best possible chance to do that. There are actually 3 different types of WhatsApp. So there's WhatsApp Personal, what Meta will describe as WhatsApp Messenger, and that's the one that you and I will have on our phone and use on our day-to-day basis to chat with our friends and family. Then there's the WhatsApp Business app. If you imagine, that's a sort of business version of the WhatsApp Personal. So again, it can sit on your smartphone. You can support a few users on that, and you can have a business profile that sits under that. But if you're a large business, if you're let's say an agency that has 5 or more employees, you only really have one other option, which is the WhatsApp Business API. So the WhatsApp Business API is essentially a programmable version of WhatsApp that developers can use, take all of the features and functionality of WhatsApp and build them into other technologies. So the benefit that brings is being able to have multiple users and devices into one WhatsApp business account. You can do some clever things with automation. So if you want to create flows, automated journeys for clients, then that's possible. So customers are able to navigate experiences at scale. And there's a lot of stuff going on from WhatsApp, particularly in e-commerce, maybe not so much in recruitment, but around payments and being able to view inventory and things like that within the WhatsApp ecosystem. So everything happens within that one place. And Meta are investing very heavily in that side of things. One of the big ones is GDPR compliance. So WhatsApp Business API is GDPR compliant out of the box. Typically, it allows for a one-to-one experience between the business and the customer, or a one-to-many experience from the business to a group of consumers. So by having that, it means that then the client is able to control what data is managed within the business across the WhatsApp chat. So if a customer does want their record to be deleted, that can be done easily. Messages can be managed on an individual user basis. You can opt in and opt out of receiving messages, for example. So all of those GDPR important things are considered within the API. Management oversight, of course, being able to see a number of conversations taking place across the business, across your whole team is possible. So again, you don't have this situation where maybe some people are using their own personal WhatsApp and frankly, there's very little oversight. You don't really know what conversations are taking place. There might be compliance issues over that sort of thing. We have also had, unfortunately, from speaking to recruiters, when there's been some more of the kind of female demographic messaging out candidates, they have been harassed on personal WhatsApp in the evening, which is pretty shocking to hear. So that takes all of that stuff away. It's a WhatsApp business account that's controlled by the business, where they can manage their teams accordingly. If someone leaves, their user access is just simply deactivated. And most importantly, management can see what's going on across the business, which typically would be the case for most other communication systems. Importantly, as we'll get onto, it can integrate into other systems like Bullhorn, for example, so you can do some really clever things with sort of larger systems like that. And finally, it supports broadcasting at scale. So if you want to send out a mass broadcasting campaign to, let's say, 1,000 people, you can do that using the WhatsApp Business API. So it's a bit like bulk SMS. It's probably the closest thing to compare it to, but it's a really powerful functionality within WhatsApp. Just a little bit about our solution. I'm really conscious I don't want to make this a salesy type presentation. It's just really about sort of giving you some insights into WhatsApp itself. But we hear a lot from clients about, they sort of feel that WhatsApp is a bit like another version of live chat. We really believe it isn't. What it is, it's a tool to enable people to manage conversations better. One of the great things about this over live chat, for example, is live chat's kind of a one and done experience, right? You can go on there, you maybe chat for a few minutes, the chat finishes, and then you're picking that up over another channel. The beauty of WhatsApp is the conversation can be started on WhatsApp and it then can continue through to its conclusion on that channel at the client's or the customer's convenience. What that means is then you can speed up things like the recruitment process, that, some of the pitfalls I spoke about before when phone calls aren't getting answered and that kind of stuff. You can send a message to that candidate with confidence that they're going to receive that message, they're going to open it and read it, and then the power is within their control to see if they want to progress that conversation. So just a much more efficient way of providing a really rich candidate experience. And then, of course, you have that ability to exchange rich media, which we all know WhatsApp is great for. So I love sending a good meme, but it can be used for sending things like maybe PDFs of a CV or job descriptions or links, that kind of stuff. And just making that whole experience much more quick and efficient, and having to sort of maybe make a phone call and then say, right, I'm going to email you this description. They come back to an email and you're picking it up over multiple channels. This can all just be managed through one channel that everyone knows and trusts. And then, as I say, the other factor is, a lot of people think it's just a chat tool. It's important that to sort of recognise that this can be used for notifications and promotional content en masse. So things like new vacancy alerts, for example. So there are really two ways in its most simple form of managing WhatsApp chats. You have your inbound chats and your outbound chats. So inbound, you're looking at things like having inquiry options on your website. So for example, you could have buttons, call to action buttons against your job descriptions that encourage a candidate to chat via WhatsApp. That might be to clarify some of the details on a particular role, all that kind of stuff. You could also have QR codes. So if you're out at job fairs or you're sending out collateral or anything like that, then you can create WhatsApp QR codes. So those can be printed, and then someone can just scan that and take them straight into a WhatsApp conversation with your business. You can also create things like deep links. So if you do want to send out email campaigns and you want to give the customer another call to action, another way to contact you, then you can create links and then embed them into things like email campaigns. And of course, you can have the number on your Facebook page, given it all sits within the Meta ecosystem. Facebook pages now allow you to publicize your WhatsApp number on there. So the sort of I guess the sort of mindset that we take with this is it's almost like having where you would have an email address and a phone number. A WhatsApp number really needs to now be part of that digital furniture, that the sort of series of contact options that you're providing to your customers, where they have another option to get in touch with you that sits alongside your phone number and your email address. And then, as I say, we have outbound messaging. So this could be obviously one-to-one messaging or mass messaging. These are done through what WhatsApp call message templates. So they are approved templates that WhatsApp themselves will approve. A business can usually have up to about 250 message templates that they can have approved. Typically, for most of our clients, they would have about 5 to 10. And as you can imagine, the open rate is really high. We had a fairly large client recently, a PLC, who sent out a campaign and achieved about an 89% open rate on those messages. So it's far in excess of what you might get via an email campaign. Thankfully, Facebook have now relaxed the rules on promotional messaging as well. So it used to be that you could only send out messaging as a business for things like notifications, one-time passwords and stuff like that. But now since September 21, they've allowed promotional messages to be sent. So there are.
And I was going to, sorry, Wes, to jump in actually, just because I've written down a note and I might as well ask the question now. So I remember there was the rule for, obviously everyone went all in on Facebook Messenger for a while, and then that rule came around the 24-hour re-engagement rule, where obviously we had to re-engage with people, especially who are inbound. Is that same rule applied for WhatsApp, knowing that it's within the Meta ecosystem? How does that work?
That's a good question, Martin. That's correct. So as you can imagine, Meta are very precious about how WhatsApp is used by businesses, and they don't want to turn it into a spamming tool, as we've seen with emails. So there is a 24-hour rule around that. So a customer can start a conversation with a business whenever they want, and if a conversation starts with that business, they can pick up that conversation at their convenience. So the power is really with the customer. A business can start a conversation with a customer using, as I say, one of these message templates. And that will open up essentially a conversational window. So if the client responds to that message, and that can be at any point in time, that will open up a 24-hour essentially chat window, if you like, time scale for that conversation to take place. The conversation, as soon as the customer responds to any messages, it resets that 24-hour window. So it's based on the kind of most recent message the customer sends. But let's say, for example, you're chatting with a customer and they just go quiet. They haven't responded to you. After 24 hours, the only way you can re-engage that customer is by sending a message template. So that could be something as simple as, I just want to check you're still okay to chat. Those are approved message templates that WhatsApp will approve. But the reason behind it, as I say, is to make sure that customers are given the best possible experience.
Fantastic. Thanks. Sorry for interrupting your flow, but it popped into my head when we were talking about inbound, and then the whole kind of promotional messages thing.
Yeah, no worries. It's a bit of a minefield sometimes, but it's good to cover this stuff off. So, so then outbound messages can be automated or classic. So let's say you blast message out 300 candidates with a new opening. You might want to hook that up to an automated experience. So you're giving essentially a journey that the customer can go through to maybe complete some details, or maybe respond to some specific questions that you might want to build into that flow. Or it could just be more of a classic experience. And this is the one that we find is most popular in recruitment, where the customer, or the candidate, I should say, can just simply reply to that message. So, they might have a new role like the one we've got on the screenshot here. And the candidate can just simply reply to that message. It will then be picked up within the WhatsApp inbox, and then the conversation can continue from there with a human. As we know, recruitment is still very much, there's a lot of talk going around AI and stuff like that, but it's still very much a human industry. So it's important to provide that kind of human-to-human experience as well. It does support dynamic fields as well. So you can, for example, have a message template that will have fields that can be populated with unique information. So let's say, for example, you have a message template that maybe the job vacancy varies, and you want to send out different templates every day to different candidates. You can simply populate those dynamic fields with the relevant job role, and it will auto-populate that message and send it out to clients at scale. So it means that essentially every message that you send is personal to that customer, and that means better engagement and better conversions on the role. As I say, you can attach images and video, which can have all sorts of benefits. You do have a significantly higher character limit compared to things like SMS. So SMS typically supports about 160 characters. WhatsApp's about 1,024. So you can get a lot more copy in that message, and you can obviously include things like emojis and stuff like that as well. Which randomly, I kind of talk about emojis. They are actually proven to increase engagement and conversion to messages.
Absolutely.
Seems
Yeah.
like a small thing, but it's actually something that is quite important. And then, of course, just the very fact that it's coming through on WhatsApp means it's coming from a trusted business on a trusted app, and you get that kind of interactive experience.
On the sorry to just kind of jump back on there, but on the higher character limit, I think one of the interesting things when I talk to people about WhatsApp versus SMS is you get that kind of pushback of, well, it's not old fashioned. You can put 500, 600, 1,000 characters into a text message. I think it's important that people understand that what happens at the carrier level when you're sending a text message over a mobile phone network is it still gets chopped up into those 160 character units, and so you can't ever actually 100% guarantee that they're all going to turn up in the right order. And I've seen that happen before, where a message has been clipped and broken down, and actually when it's been received at the other end, it's actually in the wrong order. So I think it's important to point out that, yes, while you can have kind of that higher character limit now in SMS, it's still at the really simplistic level, breaks it up into those original kind of 160 characters. And then has problems with things like emojis and non kind of Latin characters as well that you can't even begin to discuss. But yeah, it's just a point that I kind of hear quite a lot, so it's worthwhile just
Yeah,
clarifying that now.
it's an interesting one. I mean, I can only speak for myself when it comes to sort of my views on SMS, I guess. But I find that these days I'm really only exchanging SMS messages with maybe one or two people in my sort of network who are just used to using that channel, and they're very basic sort of chats, or I get them for OTPs, when I'm trying to log into some kind of SaaS product or
Yeah,
something, and that's really it. Most of my time is spent on WhatsApp. Most of the conversations I have with my friends and family, and I do have WhatsApps with some businesses. I get regular updates from Adidas. I'm a big Adidas fan, through WhatsApp. I think there's just a real sort of sea change into how those channels are being used to communicate with people, and essentially what's
yeah,
in fashion. As I say, I do think SMS is still a big channel in the US in particular. That I think WhatsApp it's popular, but in the UK in particular, WhatsApp is really popular. So I wouldn't, if I were a betting man, I'd be sort of imagining that Meta sort of see their eyes on how can they enhance and enrich the WhatsApp experience for the US market, and look to try to kind of take some of that market share, that's what you want to call it, from the SMS experience
yeah.
over in the US.
And it needs to happen. It's so frustrating trying to kind of communicate with friends and family and colleagues over in the US, where it's just so natural for me just to get onto WhatsApp, and it's so interesting how it's just not natural over there yet. It's really quite surprising, to be honest.
Absolutely. So why Bullhorn? So we do have a standalone system, but we were talking to a number of clients in the recruitment space, and time again, the question of integrations came up, and it's a valid question. We know that we are living in a world where there are a multitude of technologies and systems out there, and that's really one of our one of our kind of key ethoses. Ethoses, is that a word? One of our sort of key focus areas at Konversable is industry-specific solutions. So integrations is a huge part of our roadmap, and when it came to recruitment, working with Bullhorn as our kind of first integration partner was a no-brainer. Goes without saying, one of the world's biggest recruitment CRMs, but more importantly for us, it was about making sure that it was easy for clients. So when you're managing a large agency, you don't want to be having to deal with multiple systems for your teams. It's just too much hassle. And so if you can have it sort of sitting within the system that you use every day, It's better for customers, it's better for our clients, and it's obviously better for us. So we spent a long time building out this integration to make it as easy as possible for recruitment agency employees to communicate with candidates and companies on WhatsApp. So I'll come into the demo very shortly, and essentially, we're looking at things like that GDPR compliance management oversight, one-to-one or mass broadcasting. All of these things are things that we've translated into a Bullhorn environment. So without further ado, I'll show you what we've done. And hopefully I can share my screen here. Oh, I see Jim Rowe is on the call, Jim Robot.
It looks like he is, yeah. Just seen Jim saying, "Hey guys." at least we know it's working at the other end.
Another guru has joined us. It's great to see.
Fantastic.
So as you'll see, hopefully can you see Bullhorn? Yeah,
Yep, absolutely.
Perfect. Yeah. So anyone who's used Bullhorn will be familiar with this screen, I'm sure. This is your kind of main screen for seeing all of your candidates. So there are 3 different areas that we've built into this integration. So the first one, and we tried to make them as simple as possible. So the first one is simply a way to start a chat with a candidate and receive chats from candidates. So if a candidate starts a new chat, let's say from your website, and they don't currently exist in your CRM, it will add a new record essentially into Bullhorn for you to be able to pick up chatting. Now, you can see I've created a candidate in here. If I just jump into this candidate, you'll see on the far right, now we can add in an additional tab, if you like, for WhatsApp. So simply click on this tab here, and it will bring through the candidate record, and you'll see a lovely picture of the Eiffel Tower. That was just me doing a bit of testing before this webinar. And this is essentially the main chat window that a recruiter would see. So it's simply a case of, let's say I wanted to add in a new candidate record into Bullhorn, and then I wanted to instigate a new conversation with them. I can add them in, select the WhatsApp tab, and then start off the conversation with one of our message templates. So you'll see we have a number that we sort of created for this demo, but just to give you an example, we've got the template selected here. I can then put in my information as the recruiter. Let's just say sales development manager or something like that. Send that message, and that has hit my phone just now. So as you can imagine, just going back to what I was saying before, what we want is maximum visibility, maximum read rate and open rate. I'm getting a live status update by the recruiter to say that that message has now been delivered. I'm now just going to open that message and just reply back just to show you what kind of comes in on the other side. So I just come back, I'm saying interested, and then I'm simply picking up the conversation with the candidate there. As you can see, we can add in things like emojis, attachments, if we want to send those over, and also quick replies. So if there are things that people are typing over and over again, they can just create a quick reply for it, select it, and it will just populate the chat in here. It's really as simple as that. We try not to, as I say, make it complicated. Anything that a candidate sends to you will obviously, if it's a text message, will appear in here, and any images and whatnot. But we do also have a dedicated media section. So if there are images or PDF documents, maybe they want to send a copy of their CV over, all of that is captured in the media section in here. And then if I, as a potential candidate, reply to a particular message, it will update the notes field in WhatsApp and Bullhorn, in real time, and it will tell you who the message came from, when it was added, and what the content of that message was. Okay, so that's really the kind of that's sort of main day-to-day use case that we have.
And sorry, couple of
Yeah.
questions there, Wes. If a candidate sends over something like a CV, does that get automatically added into the candidate profile, or does it stay within the WhatsApp
Yeah, at the
tab?
moment it stays within the WhatsApp tab. There are obviously other things we're looking to do with this integration. It's a sort of never-ending moving, piece, as it were. So yeah, things like that, Martin, we're looking to build in where we can try and integrate
Brilliant.
some of that data into the profile itself. We're also looking at one of the things we don't have at the moment is a sort of analytics dashboard on WhatsApp. So that's another thing coming down the roadmap. So yeah, we're constantly adding new things and adding sort of improvements based on our client feedback.
Yeah, no, I can imagine it's you have to get something out there. I totally get that. And if you get the core right, then all the rest of it is, like you said, based on client feedback. So that's perfect. And in regards to, because I heard that kind of fantastic kind of chime happen when the response came back. So that's kind of great from a notification perspective. But if you're not on the WhatsApp tab, or you're not even in Bullhorn, do you still get some kind of notification as a recruiter that you've had a response to a message? If you've muted your computer or anything like that, how do the notifications work?
Right, you've segued me quite nicely into the next one, actually, Martin. So that's perfect. Promise people watching we didn't rehearse that bit, but
no, we really didn't.
But within here, you'll see we have an option which is our customer management dashboard. So there's a number of ways that we try to notify clients of new chats coming in. So you'll see this is, if you imagine this is essentially a WhatsApp inbox for your entire chat conversations that are happening across all of your candidates. So you can do it at the individual candidate level, but this is your customer management dashboard that can sit permanently against your kind of Bullhorn menu. So you can see this is a sort of demo account, but you can see within here, we're able to see any candidates that have chatted. And this would just remain persistently open in the background. So any new messages that come in will automatically drop to the top of your inbox, just like an email inbox would. We have things like browser notifications that sort of pop up whenever a new message comes in. We have email notifications, and we also have a mobile app where if someone was to send you a WhatsApp message, your app will essentially, it's the Konversable app, but it uses WhatsApp API, so it will trigger a notification on the app. So we try to make it almost foolproof. I say almost foolproof in terms of making sure no messages are missed.
Okay, we've just actually had a question coming, if you don't mind me just jumping in. So I've had a question from, and apologies if I don't pronounce your name right, Marine Cortoons. Asks, is only, and I'll flash it up on the screen so everyone can see it as well, but is only the first promotional message automated, or is there a possibility to create entire automatic workflows with candidates?
Good question. So the answer is basically the second one. So within different message templates, you can create different flows. So we, as I mentioned before, we are also a chatbot technology business as well. So we have a flow builder in the background where you can actually build out journeys that you would like a customer to take. And then you can essentially just start off with buttons, if you like. So you can then attach those buttons into a WhatsApp message template and then send those out. So you could have, a flow. Maybe it's a feedback flow where you want to ask the customer what did they think about their experience, and you can generate those. It could be something about maybe there's a new job role and you want to actually do a little bit of pre-qualification and try and get sort of separate the wheat from the chaff, for want of a better phrase, to make sure that candidates are going through a bit of a kind of filtering process before they actually express an interest in applying. So yeah, short answer is yes.
Great, perfect, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry,
Yeah.
just interrupting you.
No,
on the
no,
flow
no
once
worries,
again,
no
but it's good
worries.
to get these.
So yeah, this is where this is what we call our customer management inbox. So this is where essentially all chats are managed, and this would kind of sit in here, and then you can search for different candidates in this box. So if you imagine, it's almost like a kind of mini WhatsApp CRM that sits within the Bullhorn environment. And again, any conversations that would take place in this dashboard will also update the chat record against the candidate profile itself. So that's the next one I wanted to show you. And then the final thing was broadcasting. So let's say there's a new job role has appeared, and we want to get that out to a list of candidates. So simply in Bullhorn, we would just multi-select the people we want to send this to. Along the top here, there's an option that will appear for send WhatsApp broadcast. So if I select that, it will take us to our broadcasting functionality. So again, we try to make this as simple as possible, but it's just a simple case of entering the campaign name. So, could call it new BDM vacancy. You can then select, we have different types of bot numbers if you like, so a live number or a chatbot related number. So within this account, we just have a live one, which would mean if a customer replies to that message, it will be picked up by the recruiter. We can provision a number for the agency and then select a template. So let's say it was one where we were talking about before, where we wanted to have this new role being sent out to a bunch of people. We just pick our message template, it populates a preview in here. You will see it pulls through the candidate listing. Obviously, hopefully goes without saying, but they need to have a valid WhatsApp number for that message to be sent. We do have a way of identifying if messages are not successfully delivered. So you've got that comfort that you'll know who gets the message and who doesn't, essentially. But it's always really important, I think, as a process point of view, to make sure that your teams are entering numbers incorrectly. Sounds very simple, but it is something that can be a bit of an issue. And then you'll see we have our dynamic fields in here. So I can just drop down to the bottom here, enter the recruiter name and the job role, which I think was BDM. So that will then populate the sort of sample message, if you like, and then that can be sent immediately or scheduled to go for a certain date and time. So these can actually be teed up in advance. You might want to get this out maybe tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. You can set this up in advance, select the candidates you want, populate the message template with your relevant dynamic fields. You might want to have dynamic fields for things like application deadline, for example. And then you can send those out to the candidates, and then they'll hopefully receive those the next day. And then it's just a simple case of them responding if they're interested, and then you can pick those chats up and hopefully convert them into placed candidates. And that's basically it. Very simple, but hopefully very, very effective and powerful.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think simple wins the race every single time for me. So there's no shame in calling something simple. I think if you overcomplicate things, you put barriers in the way of people actually using it. On those dynamic fields, and again, I can I just do a quick question. Are you planning on, or have you already done any form of integration so that dynamic fields can be picked up? So you might be, on a job on Bullhorn, and from there you might want to broadcast a WhatsApp message to a, what do they call it on Bullhorn, a tear sheet,
Yes.
or a hot list, or whatever they call it. I can't remember now on Bullhorn, of candidates. Can those dynamic fields be be integrated so you're not having to fill them out every time?
Yeah, we do have plans to look at things like this. Bullhorn have an absolute raft of API documentation, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why one of the reasons we're actually really delighted to work with a company like Bullhorn, because they're very developer friendly, a little bit like Stripe or Twilio, for example. They provide a ton of API documentation where lots of these things can be done. So it's really, I think, the key thing from our side, Martin, is we want to deliver what our clients are looking for.
Yeah.
Sometimes a lot of tech companies sort of they fall foul of building out features which actually nobody wants. And we, you're probably familiar with sort of. There's probably a few examples out there I could probably think of.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the key things for us. We want to make sure that we get maximum value for our clients. So things like that, absolutely. If that's what clients want, then we look to develop those.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, and you're right. There's so much you can do with Bullhorn APIs that it's about getting the core product out there and getting people using it. Like I said, simple wins the race every time, because the more complicated you make it, the less people are going to be adopting. And they'll go for it and they'll think WhatsApp great, and then it will just be too complicated for them to work. So totally get that. I think it's a sensible way to go, and it makes sense. Like you said, WhatsApp is people's above and beyond, by and large, people's channel of choice for communication nowadays, especially over here in Europe. So and other parts of the world, but kind of focused over here right now. So no, it looks great. It looks like it can really do wonders for a recruitment business that's using Bullhorn to engage. I presume that much the same, you could engage with clients. It's not just candidate focused. So if you've got client contacts that you want to engage with, whether it's to maybe even market candidates out to clients and say, hey, we've got a new candidate that's just registered, fancy taking a look, here's their profile, and being able to broadcast that out to clients, as long as you've got their permission to do so. There's no reason why you can't also think about client communication.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, that sort of comes out of the box really with what I've sort of shared already this morning. I think just while we're talking about other features as well, we are being I guess partially with it as a chatbot business, we are big fans of automation. And we know that marketing automation is a huge area right now. We see that being covered. Businesses like Candidate ID, which is obviously now been acquired by iCIMS, that whole business was based on marketing automation. We have Bullhorn automation, obviously they acquired H.A.I.R, which again has been proven to be a really popular product. So we know there's definitely a place for automation within that WhatsApp experience. So we do have a feature that's live within our own solution at the moment that again we're looking to see how we can implement into Bullhorn. But it essentially uses webhooks to auto-generate WhatsApp messages based on CRM activity. So one of the things we're looking at, for example, is if a candidate goes from a hot lead to a cold lead, can that action trigger a WhatsApp message to then try and re-nurture that candidate back into the funnel without the recruiter even having to do anything? Whether we try and build that in as part of the Bullhorn automation functionality or we do it as a separate thing, we're still exploring that. But I thought it was maybe worth mentioning, some of the kind of key things around automation in that space.
Oh, absolutely, and kind of that leads on to another question that I was just thinking. So obviously this is all focused on Bullhorn, and this is what we're talking about today. But like you said, you've been, Konversable is at its core a chatbot company. And you've been around for some time now, and obviously we've known each other since before you were kind of in the recruitment space as well. But there are a lot of recruitment businesses out there that A, don't use Bullhorn, but B, also sometimes don't even use recruitment specific CRM systems. So it might be worthwhile just as a point, just to mention some of the other CRM systems that you do integrate with, just in case there are any businesses out there that might want to potentially use Konversable and then think, I wonder if they integrate with my
Yeah,
CRM.
sure. So probably our other biggest one is Salesforce, which is a bit of a minefield, frankly, in terms of integration. There's again a lot of things you can do with that. We tend to have more of a kind of custom approach when it comes to Salesforce because there's just so much to it. So we are dealing with a fairly large enterprise client right now where they're very specific about what they want that to do within Salesforce. But we do sort of integrate at a high level with that. And then other sort of common CRMs like Pipedrive, HubSpot, we have the ability to integrate into those systems as well. And Zapier, Zapier is a great way of connecting our tech to sort of a wider variety of CRMs. I think in terms of the recruitment space, Bullhorn is our first. We are absolutely open to working with other providers. I don't know if there are any Bullhorn competitors on this stream, but we are at the Recruitment Agency Expo down in Birmingham at the beginning of October. So if anyone does want to grab a coffee and talk about that, then great. But our goal, as I say, is really to try and unlock WhatsApp within the industry in as big a way as we can. And we know that the integration approach is the way to go. So I won't sort of name other providers, but I'm sure we all know, right? The other big recruitment-based providers that are out there. So
yeah, absolutely. But I think that's important to remember. There's a lot of recruitment businesses that use Salesforce, and Bullhorn even has obviously a Salesforce product as well. But the Zapier one's interesting because I don't believe Zapier has a native integration with the WhatsApp API. So I think that if you are looking to use WhatsApp and you're a Zapier fan, then absolutely get involved with Konversable because it's your shortcut to using the WhatsApp API through Zapier. Yeah. One final question that has come in from Jim actually is, how do you estimate costs per message? Yeah. So obviously, I think it's probably worthwhile just explaining how kind of the charging mechanism for WhatsApp works.
Yeah, sure. It's a good question, Jim. So WhatsApp do charge for business initiated messages. So typically they vary by market. And they change reasonably regularly. So if you're sending messages to businesses, to people in the UK, there is a sort of cost per message. Typically, it's around sort of 6 to 8 pence per message. But that covers a full conversation. So whereas with SMS, you might pay 2p a message, for example, and you're maybe having a two-way SMS chat, and there's maybe 20 messages going back and forth in that conversation. You're talking 40p for that conversation. WhatsApp is one, you pay that message price once, and that covers unlimited messages within that 24-hour period. So okay. You can exchange unlimited messages, unlimited rich messaging within that period. And then if obviously the customer was to then message you a couple of days later, there's no cost to that. So that would be classed as a customer initiated conversation. And that just continues essentially for free because the customer has started that. So it's a little bit complex in terms of that whole 24-hour rule and pricing and that kind of stuff. But that's typically how it works within Meta World. It's really more a kind of per conversation rather than a per message type basis.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Thanks, Wes. And I think that proves that, again, there's probably a more economic reason to go with WhatsApp over SMS, because like you said, you don't have kind of control over the amount of segments that you're using and all those kind of things. So I appreciate that. Thanks. Hope that answers your question, Jim. I know that you put another note on here, which is ROI ? I'm not sure whether that's referring to return on investment, but I don't know if you've got any kind of stats around what that ROI kind of impact is right
quite early days, if I'm honest, because our solution with Bullhorn went live probably about 4 months ago. So we have some new clients come on, and we're just keeping an eye on some of the data, but early positive signs. I think a couple of interesting stats that we've spotted. First of all, in the open rate, we are seeing very good open rates on these messages. Typically 85% plus is a sort of fairly standard metric that we're seeing, which is really promising. The other one is actually the relationship between, so we work with a couple of marketing agencies as well. We've been doing some analytics from Google on web clicks versus WhatsApp clicks and phone calls. So there's one client we were working with, and they had, I think, about 265 phone calls taking place within the business in August, and about 243 WhatsApp clicks within that same period. So it does demonstrate that as many people want to chat on WhatsApp as they do want to speak on the phone. And this is why we are so obsessed about trying to say to businesses, just having a phone number and email address is no longer sufficient. If you want to grab that younger market, you need to be engaging them on this channel, because if they can't contact you via WhatsApp, they'll try and contact someone that they can. They would rather do that than pick up the phone. So that's quite interesting. In terms of recruitment ROI from a kind of candidate experience point of view, we've got some anecdotal feedback, and just in terms of candidates are just enjoying the experience a bit more. But what we're trying to get to, and happy to share these stats when we get them, is what it actually does in terms of speed to hire. Because I know that's a very big metric in the recruitment industry, is time to hire from when that ad goes live. So we're keeping a close eye on that. Again, early signs are good. But I'd like to be able to sort of come back and share some stats, maybe over LinkedIn, on candidate time to hire is increased by 20% by using WhatsApp over a traditional channel. So yeah, once we kind of get some solid stats on that, we're happy to share them.
Yeah, no, that's great. That I look forward to seeing those once they come through. Like you say, you have to spend some time, actually getting the system out and deployed before you get those stats. So I look forward to seeing those when they come in. We're coming towards the end of our hour now. It goes so quickly, doesn't it? But there's been no more questions coming in. So actually, I think I've asked everything I need to ask. I suppose so if I was to kind of summarize, I think today's session, I think what's interesting me is a few different things. So first of all, we know that WhatsApp is above, by far and wide, people's preferred communication channel of choice. So it makes sense if you're trying to communicate with your candidates. We saw those stats at the beginning you presented as well on the chart, that the vast majority generationally prefer WhatsApp. So if you're trying to communicate with people, absolutely you should be getting onto WhatsApp as quick as possible. It beats most other communication channels hands down. I like your point of when you said it's not live chat, and I get a lot of recruiters coming to me and saying we'd like, chatbots on our website, we'd like live chats on our website. But you're right, there are so many more benefits around WhatsApp over live chat. Like you said, live chat is one and done. You have that interaction, session finishes online, that's it. Whereas with WhatsApp, it is, part of a wider, communication strategy. You can continue communicating with people via that channel far and beyond when that first kind of engagement finishes as well. So I really like that. It can be automated, so not just a first kind of message coming out. You can automate messaging, not only in terms of scheduling, but also in terms of back and forth communication. If you are a recruitment business and your recruiters are using their personal WhatsApp, which I can imagine that's the vast majority. I think recruitment business owners and leaders are probably quite naive if they think that's not happening, because that's absolutely happening. So first of all, you've got to think about GDPR. That is not GDPR compliant. What happens if those recruiters leave? They've got access to that information they've got on their personal WhatsApp, potentially candidate and or client information that you need to deal with. But also, one of the biggest things that jumped out to me that you mentioned was as a recruitment business owner or leader, there's a duty of care as well. Yeah. I'm not surprised, but I'm very shocked that recruiters get abuse over WhatsApp, whether that be inappropriate, sexual abuse or whether that just be abusive language, you have a duty of care to protect your recruiters and your staff against that. So if your recruiters are using their personal WhatsApp, you need to start thinking about turning this into something that's more professional, and bringing that into your company systems in a way that Wes has just shown you today. That's my summary, of everything you've shown us today. And I think it's been really, really interesting to see what you've built here, Wes, and what Konversable have brought to the Bullhorn ecosystem. So thank you so much for your time. Thanks so much for introducing Konversable and giving us a demonstration on the product. It's been really, really interesting. Any last words for the 30 seconds we've got left on this session?
No, I think we've been quite comprehensive in this session, so hopefully everyone's found it productive. And yeah, just thanks for inviting me, Martin. It's been a pleasure to come on this morning and show everyone what we're up to. I can be reached on LinkedIn if anyone needs me, or I can put you in touch with one of the team. And I look forward personally to hearing that full-time intro again in the next one, so I will certainly be tuning in.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, I'm keeping it going until they come after me for copyright. But yeah, if you want to get hold of Wes via LinkedIn, Wes Beard, or at konversable.com, which I've got at the bottom of the screen here. So thank you once again, Wes, and thank you everyone for tuning in to PPLBOTS presenting Tool Time today with Wes Beard from Konversable. Thanks a lot. Have a great day wherever you are.
Thanks, Martin. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Thanks, Wes.